Hi, this is Brianna Winger, and this is my theology video. So the first question is, how do you do theology? What are your sources for religious truth or knowing how to live spiritually? And I just want to start out by saying that I think a lot of my theology is based off of have been raised in a Christian home all my life. And I have been going to church all my life, the same church and same church family, and I have also been going to the same private school. So I think my roots are set deep, and I think I am stuck in my ways. And I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. I think a lot of church is that way, and so I think it's a good thing, but it also can hinder me. But I just think that's how I have my belief system, and that's kind of what I'm based off of. And I think ultimately for my source of religious truth, it's for sure the Bible. But since I've been raised with such great people around me all my life, then I've really had a lot of connections and just a lot of opportunities to build those relationships. And so I've known a lot about thought and belief in the Bible. And so I think that those people have really been my source of religious truth, and they have helped me to know and be examples of how to live spiritually and spiritual lives. And I think that's definitely it. I mean, obviously though, when it comes down to it, the Bible is the ultimate number one. So if someone's contradicting the Bible, then that doesn't matter. If I can find biblical proof, direct words that apply to my situation, that is what I'm going for. But I think people in my life, who I know and I've come to trust around me, those people who are my mentors, I know that I can trust them to be real with me and to just tell me the truth. And so I think that's my source of religious truth. The next question is, according to me, what is the nature or essence of God? And so the first, it kind of has answers built in, and I think I'm just going to respond to those. And so I definitely want to agree with, it has all knowing listed. And so you have your omnis, and definitely all knowing, all loving, and ever present. Those are key factors of God, which I think, for me at least, that says something, because I guess we dream of superheroes and that type of thing, but they have one superpower. They can fly, they're invisible or something like that. But God isn't one. You can't define God. We can try, and we can try to box him in, but the thing is, there's so much more to God, and he's so much more complex than I can know and imagine and come to and understand and comprehend. So I think that's a big thing. And it says, it's something, one of the questions in here that I kind of wanted to address is, it says he's able to do absolutely anything. And I feel like saying yes, automatically, but there's this part of me that's well, if I say yes, then that would be God can sin. And I think that's one, maybe a small issue where I kind of struggle, because God is all powerful and everything, but then we have to deal with sin is something that God, I feel can't do. That is the one thing. If I were to say the only thing I believe that God can't do is God can't sin. So I think that's an interesting point. And my belief about God's knowledge of the past, present, and future, I struggle with this one, because I feel like it's a complex answer, and I can't fully myself comprehend how it works, but I'm willing to settle. And I sometimes think people might assume settling's bad, but I can't like prove anything. And so I feel like I might as well settle just believing that like God knows the past, he knows the present right now, and he knows the future. Like I can't say he controls it, and I can't say how he knows the future without like making sure I'm going to do something or being able to guarantee it, but like that I think that's the one like area I might struggle with is the fact that like I can't put a sticker to what he knows and I can't label it and say, oh, well, this is his like ability in my future. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just him up in a little room and he's like being able to be like the security guard watching my future, just like, oh, there she is and that's what she's doing. Or if he's involved. I mean, because you would like to think of God who's ever present, then he's involved in the right now, and that's including the right now of your future, which I think that's just really hard to comprehend and understand because God doesn't exist in our time plane. So I think that's a bigger issue to deal with. And that's another one of your questions was God's not in our time, which makes the past, present, and future thing like makes so much more sense, I think, really. Because otherwise, if we put God in our time, then it's impossible to like for it to like work out. But if we say God doesn't exist in the way time works, then we're basically, I don't want to call it scapegoating it, because I feel like it's admitting like that we don't know, but I feel like some people believe that like that's you're using it as like a scapegoat, like, oh well, since I don't know, so that's kind of like I'll just say it's this, and then that's kind of my exit out because I don't have to answer. But like I don't know, and I can't know, and like maybe I will someday in heaven, but right now, that's how it is. Um, and the last part of this question was, is he unchanging? And oh man, that's a struggle too, because I want to believe, and I do believe that God is unchanging, and he has set rules and ways, but where I struggle with this is knowing, like, it's again that God's transcendent of our time, because like if I think about it, I'm like, well, God, like back before he created the earth, like how could he know this is how people were going to sin, and how could he be prepared to address these common issues in like thought process and how he would react to it? But then when we take him out of time, it it makes sense, and it's like okay that he's unchanging because it's already like he knows it. So, yeah. Okay. The next question. What do I believe about the inspiration of the Bible? Is the Bible authoritative? In what sense do I follow what it says? And what is my belief or relationship between the Old and New Testament? So, what do I believe about the inspiration of the Bible? I believe that God inspired man to write the Bible, and they wrote it in their own words and their own language, but God gave man the inspiration, and that is what I believe about that. Is the Bible authoritative for me? Definitely. The Bible is the ultimate authority, and part of that, I believe, I feel like I've grown trust in the Bible, and that for sure is part of it. Because if there was things in the Bible that to me didn't make sense, then I think I would struggle with it. But and that might be like a problem for other people who are non-Christians. But being grown and raised in the church, I definitely think like the Bible is my ultimate authority, and like I kind of said this earlier, like, if I'm trying to decipher something, like I can go to man, and man like knows so much and can help me so much, and sometimes it's really helpful, and they can definitely like direct me and make me think about like an answer. but ultimately I refer to the Bible. And maybe if the Bible doesn't directly talk about it, I can at least be like, well, this is like common morals of the Bible, and like I can at least refer to that and be like, okay, I know what direction I need to move in. And so that's kind of like how it is for me. And the next part of that question is, in what sense do I follow what it says? And I think that's the area of struggle for me, and I think for a lot of other people, just because the Bible is something that I say and I believe it has authority over my life, but do my actions always live that? I would think that's definitely a hard spot, because my actions aren't always that. And I mean, are they that? Like, I don't know. I almost feel like they more so don't say the Bible's authority over my life. Like, I think my actions might say, well, homework and Netflix and Facebook and other people's opinions of you, like, definitely, like, and I think that's a struggle for most people, is like truly living it out day to day. That's the hardest part of being a Christian. Like, to me, it's not the ultimate truths in it or anything. It's the day to day. It's the small stuff. Like that's the struggle. And so the next part of that question, how do you view the relationship between the Old and the New Testament? Well, you know, I've been thinking about this today, because I've been trying to think about what to say. And like I think, well, the Old Testament to me, it feels like it's like Father God, and that's how it's written. And maybe that's just because of how my New Age Bible is. I'm sure it is. But in some ways, I feel like the Old Testament is like this figurehead type of more laws and that type of thing. And then the New Testament is like a freedom and a breaking away, and it's newfound, and it's that. So it almost, it like, how God the Father and God the Son, like, that's how the Bible, I feel like, is. It's like, it's, yeah, the Bible is the older and wiser part, and the Son is like trying to keep paths but a little bit more adventurous. That's how it feels like to the Bible is written to me. So that's how I view the relationship of the Bible. According to me, what is sin? Sin, I believe, is a direct disobedience to God. And like, maybe, I guess direct is kind of harsh. Like, I mean, maybe not everyone necessarily knows, because they're not Christians and they're not raised in this. But the same time, like, it is sin, and like people are like, oh, well, we have these sins, and it's like, well, where did the word sin come from, and how was it created? And it's kind of almost like the same thing to me as like the term marriage, because I struggle with like that one a lot, because it's in modern society, but where did marriage originate? And so both marriage and sin are kind of in this the same track of like, well, as Bible believing Christian people, like, I believe sin is something like directly disobedient to God, and so that's because it's God who like made the rules. So otherwise, what rules do people have to define their sins? And the next part of that is, why do people sin? And I can't define why people sin. I can tell you some do it for pleasure, some want to prove others wrong, some are angry, some people do it to take revenge, and they believe it's justifiable because they're not religious Christians. But I think like beyond um like original sin, you know, like, I don't know. I think that's a struggle spot. Like, um, I think it's just an example. Like, the original sin, um, like, shows man's heart, and then like we continue that on. So I think people sin because it's a lust. That's like an ultimate. I think lust and pride lead the rest of like sin along the way. Like that's what I think. And do people have to sin is the next question. And I think this is a tough thing because we have the original sin, as we like to call it, and we like to say, but we like to like say like you don't have to sin, but everybody's born and everybody does it, like it's not optional. But then, like, I guess if you think about it, it is optional because of like our sin nature, but we do have the opportunity to not sin. But to be saved, almost, we have to sin. We have to be saved from our sin. So we have to sin, like, and I don't want to say like that's like a purposeful, like, oh, it's organized and you've got to do it because that's what you need to go to heaven. But I think it's just in our nature. It's in who we are as humans to sin. And that's sad, but that's how it is. So, you know, like, I think sin is kind of inevitable and unavoidable just because, like, I mean, some might struggle with determining like what is sin because they're not like Christians and stuff, but I think like some sins, it's easy to tell right from wrong, and like you get this pit in your stomach and you just like know, like, I didn't do the right thing. Like, I don't need God or morals necessarily to tell me that. Like, maybe I guess I need morals a little bit, but like you feel like you did something bad. So I think like people in sin, yeah. um the next question I'm going to answer is, according to me, what is salvation? And I think this is like a real opportune, like, I think salvation is a free gift from God for man, and like it's an opportunity to like be saved. And we wonder what is saved and like the surrounding, like, what do I need to be saved from? But it's saved from my sin, like a free gift and a free pass to be saved from the sins and the choices I have made. And I definitely think like that's exciting, like a chance to be free of your sin and to start over and get a clean slate. Like, I feel like everybody in life wishes that, and we don't always realize that we have had that chance and that opportunity, and I think we take it for granted. So yeah. And what is grace? And grace is, it's kind of like a precursor to salvation. It's it's the opportunity to accept salvation, because like God has to give us the opportunity to like be saved. And so grace is him saying, even though you are awful people, I am giving you this opportunity through salvation to become perfect. Not to say that I am perfect, but like ultimately someday perfect. So I think that's grace. And that is all I have for you today. So thank you.